All the mics shown, please.
Yep, you're on.
Okay, you're good to go. I'll let Lindsay know that.
That's all the pictures. Okay. Do we need to wait on him or? No.
I told you you would.
You get to sit with the rest of us today.
There it is. Thank you, Denise.
Oh, that was loud. I want to call the May 10th, 2022 Madison County Planning Commission meeting to order, and we will start off with a word of prayer.
Let's all pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for all the many blessings that we have. Lord, we thank you for the mothers and the way we're able to celebrate that great holiday each year, that we appreciate our moms and everything that they do for us. Lord, as we continue today, we lift up the military and all the firemen that help us each and every day. Lord, we just ask that you will protect them as they go about their day and they protect us. Lord, just today help us to make good decisions for the county and protect the citizens. This we ask your name. Amen.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, Stacy.
Absolutely. Mark Gary,
Present.
Denise Spooner,
Here.
Jerry Alexander, Lindsey Brown,
Present.
Tom Shepard,
Here.
John Richwine, John Zimmerman,
Here.
Corey Melander,
Here.
and Wes Likens. Thank you.
Okay, and everybody should have the minutes from the April 12th meeting. You've looked those over.
Put a motion on the floor to accept the minutes as stated, as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. All right, Rachel?
Okay, our first item is old business. We had petition number 2022-Z-001. This petitioner, it's Path to Prosperity, and they actually withdrew their petition, and we have an email from them that we've put on file with their packet, and so we don't need to talk about this one. Jeff, do we have to do anything formal with a withdrawal?
No, it's withdrawn.
All right. The second one has also been withdrawn. This was petition number 2022-W-002. This was Keith Cook. They had the waiver for the width to depth ratio, and they were able to work it out with the property owner, and they revised their petition to follow the ordinance, so they withdrew.
Good news.
Yes. Okay, our next petition is 2022-Z-004. The petitioner is Kathleen Gray. She is in the Conservation Residential Zoning District, and she's requesting a rezone from Conservation Residential to General Commercial. She has a pavilion that she does events such as weddings and the like. So she's wanting, we don't allow that use in Conservation Residential. The only one that we do allow the type of use that she has is in the General Commercial Zoning District. So I'm going to kind of go through what I looked at for this petition. When we are looking at rezones, the first step is coming to the Plan Commission. Second step is going to the commissioners, so they have the final say in it. What you need to look at in this, we have to look at the Madison County Comprehensive Plan and any other adopted planning studies or reports. We need to look at the current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. We need to look at the most desirable use of the land. We also need to consider the conservation of property values and also responsible growth and development. So like I said, this site was actually the home of a former church. So churches are allowed in conservation residential. She had purchased this property, and she is operating what I guess I would consider an illegal non-conforming wedding venue at the site. She did come into the office. She wanted to do an expansion of her structures. She wanted to apply for a permit, and I believe at the time staff had instructed her to apply for a variance. But when I looked at it, the variance request, it wasn't one that really we could even grant because the use wasn't matching up with the zoning district. And just so we give a better description from her, basically, this is from her Facebook page. It says, Grays Park is a family and locally owned and operated business that caters to Anderson and surrounding communities by providing a pavilion that can accommodate a number of events, including weddings, birthdays, graduations, bar mitzvahs, reunions, and holiday parties. The site does have a current structure on it. There's a kitchen in it where food can be prepped, and there's a pavilion area that's attached to the structure. If the parties are larger, it appears that tents are erected so that they can hold wedding receptions there, or larger wedding receptions. And like I said, the closest use in our development code would be a banquet hall. If you look at the second page of the packet, this is where the property is located on North Madison Avenue. There's actually 3 parcels that were part of this petition application. There's 2 that are alongside County Road 100 or Madison Avenue. Like I said, this is zoned conservation residential. Across the street is single-family residential, but to the south is the general commercial zoning district. When I looked at the Madison County Comprehensive Plan, to the east of the property, it is kind of highlighted in that document as potentially changing to rural commercial. The comprehensive plan doesn't necessarily give definitions of what rural commercial looks like, but I guess I want you guys to keep that in mind as you're reviewing this, that, you know, with that adopted plan, there is commercial planned for across the street from this site. Oh, Stacy. I think these packets printed out every other page. Our meeting?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't think it was all there.
Hang on, guys.
Sorry, guys. We'll keep going. I've got this on my computer. So let me pull up. That was weird. Oh, you're
Crazy morning. Which ones? Which ones are you talking about?
my staff packet.
They're just one page. It's just one page.
Yeah, we're missing every other page of the packet.
It's what you sent me this morning.
Are you kidding me?
Uh-uh. No,
All right,
'cause
guys.
I printed the whole thing.
I thought we did. All right, just give me a second.
I'll fix it.
Okay. we'll have to listen since we only have half of the report. The intent of the Conservation Residential Zoning District is to provide for the development of clusters of medium-sized home on large lots. However, general commercial, what is the proposed zoning district? This is for most of our general business uses. It can be adjacent to all other commercial and industrial districts and a couple of different residential districts. In conservation residential, of course, there is more of a focus on the agriculture aspect of things. However, nature preserves, passive recreation trails, churches or places of worship are allowed there. Special uses include a nature center, public athletic courts, fields, playgrounds. However, like we talked about, banquet facilities are not allowed in that zoning district. On the flip side, general commercial does allow agriculture use in it. It allows, again, just kind of those general business uses that we typically see within the county. And banquet facilities are allowed there. When I was reviewing this, typically in an ordinance, we have what's called a land use variance. And that, I think, really would have been the best way to approach this project, is taking her to the Board of Zoning Appeals and asking for a land use variance. That way we could have asked specifically for this use. But for whatever reason, our ordinance does not allow land use variances. So I'm sure there's a good reason at some point why that was put in place. So section 11.
Wait.
Well, I think it's mainly because of the case law is so
Anti-land use?
I've told clients in the past, effectively, you can't do it.
Yeah. Because it's almost impossible to show why.
I don't think there are any recorded cases in Indiana in which those would have been allowed.
Okay.
That may be why.
All right.
Just speculating.
Yeah.
So I did not give a staff recommendation either way on this, because this one is a difficult one for me. On one hand, I think, when I look at the surrounding land use, it is residential. So I do struggle with, a venue that has music into the evenings. One of the things we could do is put conditions on this, but I do struggle with enforcement of conditions. So, if there is music playing after 11 o'clock at night, how do we handle that as a county? And what do the neighbors, if they do call someone at that time, there's not a quick enforcement, I guess. Even with some of the active petitions that we've had in the past, and just in the past couple months that I've seen, our enforcement policies really need to be updated so that we have quicker action on enforcement. So that is one thing that I worry about if this is approved and we do put strict conditions on the times, is just how fast can we, take care of that if it's not going according to what we've approved. So if the commission would like to approve this rezone, my recommendation is to only approve the rezone of the two parcels along Madison Avenue to general commercial. The parcel in the rear would remain conservation residential.
Talking about it in the red there?
Correct. So just those two front parcels. The parking lot is basically split by a property line right now. So on the north side of the parcel, that's typically where the tents get erected. That structure on the southern parcel is where the kitchen is and the pavilion. My recommendation would, if it is rezoned, I would recommend that the two parcels that are adjacent to County Road 100 be combined into one parcel, and the appropriate right-of-way is dedicated to Madison County within 1 year of the approved rezone. I would also recommend that the replat of this would ensure that all the structures meet the proper setbacks for the general commercial zoning district. Right now there is a deck on the north side that is very close to the rear property line, and it looks like there is a concrete pad on the southern one that is also falling within that setback area for either the conservation residential zoning district or the general commercial zoning district. One of the options that the petitioner would have if we go this route is she could move that rear property line further to the west so that she could accommodate those setback requirements. And that is something that I think we should require if we go the rezone route. I would say the petitioner also needs to obtain proper permits for any existing unpermitted structures within 1 year of the approval. The petitioner shall also show proof of any requirements from the Department of Homeland Security that they may impose on outdoor staging or decking, just banquet hall facilities in general, and outdoor tents prior to the site being used by the general public. I am not sure what the requirements are from Homeland Security. However, I've run into that in the past where there are a place where, in this case, there is that outdoor deck structure that appears that people get married on, or if there's music being played on it, we need to make sure that that structure is safe, and Homeland Security often requires a permit for those. I would also recommend that a Type 3 buffer yard, as defined by the Madison County Land Use and Development Code, shall be installed on the north, west, and south sides of the property within 1 year of the rezone approval. All future improvements to the site shall follow the Madison County Land Use and Development Code. Sunday through Thursday, music shall be limited to the hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. On Friday and Saturday, music shall be limited to the hours between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. And also the conditions imposed by the rezone of this property shall be recorded with the property deed. And that is so if she goes to sell the site, it stays with it. However, if you would like to deny this petition, my recommendation is for the petitioner to pursue a special use for the Conservation Residential Zoning District, to use the property as a park where weddings may be held. However, that would not include receptions. The Board of Zoning Appeals at that time could put conditions on the use limiting the capacity of the venue so that we can make sure that it stays as a small wedding venue rather than a site that can allow large crowds. I know that was a lot, and we had some hiccups along the way. What questions do you have of me?
That line that goes out to Madison Avenue, is that a right of way to the back section that she bought?
The red line to the south?
Yeah, to the south.
No.
The red line to the south.
No, I think that is just how Stacy drew it in.
These are the 3 parcels.
Yeah. So that rear parcel does not have access to County Road.
So it's landlocked,
100.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
This is the parcel that
Yeah, but I'm looking, go straight down to that red line that touches Madison Avenue right there.
No.
I was just saying, if that's gonna be agriculture, whatever, how are they gonna get there?
It looks like they're just driving through the yard from the parking lot to the field.
Yeah. Well, see, that's all one field there. They're, what they've done, taken the field and split the parcel. So.
Mm-hmm. As it exists, there's no access to the rear.
Right. So that's a railroad track on the other end, so there's no landlocked in there. So you're proposing that the farm parcel there, they move the property line to the west
Mm-hmm.
On the back of the property.
on the back of the,
First 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
In order-
If you guys want to rezone this to general commercial, I would recommend that, yes, that rear property
So that there's a
line
rear
of,
setback.
so that the setbacks can meet what has already been constructed there. I would like to try to keep the site in compliance with the other things that have been constructed. And I'm not sure if the deck where the weddings appear to be held, I don't know if that was built with a permit or not.
Trouble is, the requirements for the deck and stuff being on for public is a lot different than residential, so.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, because the permit is not required for a deck.
However, if this is getting used for public use, then I think, we need to make sure we're doing our due diligence to
Right.
ensure public safety. So it is different having a deck at your personal residence versus one at a business. There is also that, you can see on the southern parcel, I think it's a concrete pad, and that one was also poured too close to the property line. And that would be another reason for moving that property line to the west.
So we really don't know what the
What is that used for?
setback is there now.
Well, the setback will depend on what this is potentially rezoned as. So if it is going to be rezoned to general commercial, there is a certain setback for that zoning district. If it stays conservation residential, I believe that's a 25-foot setback. So we would need whatever this, if this does go general commercial, we'd want it to be adjusted to fit the general commercial zoning district. So the things to consider, I guess from my point of view, are from a zoning perspective, everything currently around this site right now is zoned residential. However, looking at the future land use plan, across the street from this is calling for rural commercial. Rural commercial is not defined in the comprehensive plan, so. Okay, we can let the petitioner talk, and she can give more information about her business, and she is able to answer any questions you may have about some of the structures that could be on the site or that concrete pad.
Please sign in and state your name.
Okay. I'm Kathy Gray. And first of all, I didn't know I was doing anything illegal. I had a ribbon cutting and an open house, and the mayor and city officials were there. Nothing was ever said. I didn't know I was doing anything illegal. When we poured the concrete pad is because the water problem that we have in that area would cause muddy feet, per se, for a tent to be erected. So we put the concrete slab without a footer there so they could put a tent up over that and stay dry, tables are level, all of that. As far as the deck goes, the reason we purchased the property behind us, I live on Garnet Drive. I'm right there with all my neighbors. We are excellent homeowners. We overinvest in everything because we want it to look beautiful and look nice. So, you know, it affects us. I would not do anything that would cause detriment to our property value because I live right there. So, not that I would for anyone, but the actual deck that we built, you could park a truck on because it was my utmost importance to me is safety. And it was built strictly for weddings. It's been used a dozen times in 5 years. So, and we overinvested in that because I wanted it to be safe. All along, I really did want to purchase the property behind me because I didn't want anything. The homeowner to the south of us owned the property beside us as well as in back of us. And he had his property up for sale. I didn't want someone to buy that and to turn that into something that would be detrimental to my neighbors as well as my park. That's why we purchased it. I also didn't want that limit on where I was under the assumption, wrongly I guess, that I had to be 5 foot off the property line, which I did. So I don't know if there's any other questions to that. I'd be glad to answer anything. And as far as a noise, I live there, so when music is going on, I'm very conscious of it. I have said on my porch, In 5 years, it's happened 2 or 3 times, that at 10:30, I'm going, well, I still hear the music. And at 10:45, I'm like, come on. And I'll start calling. And by 11 o'clock, I'm over there telling them, I ask you to turn the music off at 11. That is non-negotiable, out of respect for them as well as anyone. It's just a respectful thing to do. So I don't know if there's any other questions or anything. The only thing, we want to build a bride when they come there, they say, where are we going to get ready?
Right.
And so I'm building a 30 by 30 structure for that use.
Where would that be?
So I don't think it shows on there, but so we added the concrete slab that you see the little lines. It is right behind it, right there. And those two are attached. There's actually a sidewalk that, not where the arrow is, where the pad is, and then right behind it. Right there. That's it.
That's the
So
pad.
that's the pad.
Okay,
So
so where's the building gonna be?
it's right there.
Oh, it's on top of that
The pad is in front.
Oh, in front.
So the footer and that concrete has been poured last year, and that's where it is.
Okay.
It's not going on to, there were rumors spreading that I was putting a parking lot back there, that I was putting storage units, or that I could put storage units. I don't want that. That's why I bought it, so I could protect all of us and protect how my park looks. I like those fields the way they are. In the past, the farmer has gone through the neighbor's property because he did their property as well as ours in rolling the hay or grass or whatever it is. I want to continue that. I would like to look into something that may be more profitable, but it would still be field. It would still be, I like the field in the back. Yes. So
would you be fine if we wanted to move that property
Sure.
line to meet the
And-
requirements on that?
absolutely. And it was not, before I came up thinking that I would just go through that motion, I didn't realize that I would have to go through rezoning. It's not what I wanted, it's what I have to do. So, yes, if we move the property line back and that is included in the 2 front parcels, that's fine with us. And then if the back, I paid to do it all just because I thought, I don't want to have to go through this again if I want to build a little bit of more storage for my tables and chairs on this side. I just didn't want to have to go through the whole thing again. And that's the only reason why I included paying for all of it to be zoned the same.
Right.
Okay.
On the drawing here, it says 9 feet. Can you look that up and see what the setback's supposed to be?
On general commercial, the setback is 25 feet.
I did not know that.
Seeing she's only at 9, according to the drawing.
Yeah, so that's not, so those drawings, we have not approved them. We
Yeah.
were not approving any permits for this until we got the use and Sure. The planning department wasn't issuing any permits on this until we got the use in compliance. So the drawings that are in there are not approved drawings. Those are just ones that are supplied by the petitioner.
Right. So if that is correct, then that has to go back 16 feet. Right?
Once
Minimum.
the replat is done, yeah. You're right, so that line would have to move 16 feet to the west.
And then what would be the other option? You gave 2 options. Would that be the same footage?
No. If she stays zoned conservation residential, her setback would be 30 feet. So that line,
Either way, you got.
either way, she would have to replat it, or she would have to move the pad.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta move the property line no matter what. I was just trying to
Okay,
see what
let's-
your options were, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I bought the property and back, so it's all ours.
Yeah.
So you can move it back as far as move it back 50 feet, I don't care, I mean,
Well, it's just more you gotta mow, so. But either way, that's gotta be moved.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
Are they getting dressed in the church now?
there is no church.
Oh, well, I mean, not the church, but.
No, they have to get ready somewhere else.
Oh.
And then
because
they
there's-
come there
yeah.
and they really want to be able to get ready on the
Right.
side and come out
Right.
and, yeah.
Okay, I got you now.
Any other questions?
Rachel, what's the type 3 buffer yard? What would that entail?
The type 3 buffer yard has a landscaping requirement, and also either a fence or like an undulating like berm. That would be part of it. So I think we have 3 different types of buffer yards, and this one is the most substantial buffer yard of the 3 that we would require on properties.
So a tree line as well?
Yeah, there would be a tree line, there's a fencing or a shrub requirement, or the mound, where it would be a landscaped mound with trees on it too.
Okay.
And I believe there's a width requirement on it too.
And where would that be required?
It would have to be anywhere it touches a different zoning district, so on the north, west, and south sides of the property.
They get expensive.
So if they move that property line, then it's going to be on that west side as well between the farmer's field, so it's going to take, okay.
We have a buffer on the south side already with a big row of trees and everything there that we put in because the poor horse farm over there that is underwater all the time, we really didn't want to see that. So we put a mound and put evergreen trees along that line.
But they'd have to put it on, even though they own that property, you still have to put a buffer there?
Yeah.
On the backside?
Because it could potentially be a different zoning district if you rezone it.
So to separate the two zones, you gotta have a buffer between.
That's but it's just a field.
It's just a field. At the back of the field against the railroad track, there is a tree line there that would separate from the railroad track to the next person's property.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Any other questions? Thank you. Does anyone else from the audience care to speak on this?
Here comes one of the best teachers at Highland.
Oh, listen, one of the best students right there.
Don't let go his head.
I'm
Please
Cheryl,
sign in and state your name, please.
I'm Cheryl Myers. And I live on Garnet Drive, and I wanted to look at this for a minute. Okay, I'll show you where we live. My next door neighbor here and I live. Here's me, right there.
Right here?
And there's Esther right there.
Right beside
Those
you?
are our houses right there.
Okay.
And this field is landlocked and it's wet. If I walked across it right now, the water would pour in my shoes. There's just no drainage out there. So
It's kind of a small.
I just wanted to say that the Grays are just about the best neighbors anybody could want. Their home is beautiful, the yard is beautiful, they know how to landscape and how to build. It's not about the Grays, it's about knowing that that field behind our homes would be commercial and just not trusting the future situation that could develop there, because somebody who's not as scrupulous as the Grays could say, but see, Kathy and I had a great discussion, and she said, we're not going anywhere for many years. So the reason we all bought our houses there is to look out at a green field. It's pastoral. It's beautiful. It's just like where you grew up. So that's the question. And Kathy's plan is to eliminate some of the understory in that fence row, which is mostly invasive bush honeysuckle, and they could truly beautify that. But I'd much rather see it stay commercial residential. There's a lot of wildlife back there. Amazing. A lot of birds. I've heard quail. I've seen hawks. They nest in that fence row. So the question, I guess, is what's going to happen to the zoning of that field right behind our homes? And we submitted a petition. I talked to a lot of neighbors. When it's just once in a while, everybody can live with the music. Unless you're right next door, you really can't go to sleep if the band's playing right next door. So for us, we can hear it, but everybody's having such a good time and partying, and there aren't too many venues of that quality around. So you guys have a big decision to make, I think. Preserving the peace of mind and enjoyment of our property along that one field on the north side within the red trapezoid.
Right.
Yeah, that we'd like to see remain conservation residential like it is now. But we are very happy to support the Grays with the event center because it's an asset to our community. So
And the noise.
the
finish at
noise is
11
occasional.
Is fine though, if it's.
I'd like to see it end by 10:30, but I don't, or 10 even, because you can get a good party going as early as 5. I mean, how long do bands play? About 3 hours? I mean, maybe there's a compromise where they could quit a little earlier, but it is occasional. It's not every single Friday and Saturday, but it can be really loud too. So the other considerations we had were just the lighting. Now we have some light coming in the windows that didn't used to come in the windows, but that's not going to diminish our property value. It's just an occasional, it's annoying because it is every night, but you've got to have high intensity light to discourage trespassing. So, and the drainage, I think ever since that railroad embankment was built, the drainage has just gone to heck out there. There isn't any drainage. So the Grays have done a good job with draining their property as much as they can, but you're never going to get that back section drained, I don't think. So that's all I'm here to really say is we like to keep that conservation residential. Have no objection to the business and the quality of the development that has happened there. If you haven't seen it, you should drive by. It's a really nice venue. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Does anybody else have comments they want to make? Okay.
Yes.
That happens a lot, doesn't it?
In reference to the drainage, when the city put in the new water plant, we put new drains from the railroad tracks all the way down, all the way west to after Hartman Road, and I forget where all we went, but that's all new drains there, but we can't get underneath railroad tracks.
We saw that too. Stacy, I think you can put the regulated drains on and we can see where that is located. Yes. It's kind of hard to read from back here, but it's definitely, there's a red line that goes right up to the railroad tracks, and you can see that tree line within the field appears to drain towards that regulated drain.
Those aren't the exact right spots, but they're awful close.
Mm-hmm.
The city actually paid for one of them, but we can't get underneath the railroad, and I found out you don't want to mess with the railroads. You're not going to get anywhere.
It's a challenge.
So I don't think that field's ever gonna drain back there, man.
The mosquitoes are already out.
I bet.
I don't know if we keep on the side of the houses, if we keep. Sure. If it's on the side where the houses are, if that is zoned, if it remains the same, can we split the parcel where on the other side, I mean, I don't know if that's a compromise to make the homeowners, not that we could build if we wanted to. We don't want to, but it's wet. You know, we can't do it, you know, but if it would make them happy to have that zone something different and on the other side to do, you know, I just don't know what the answer is, but
Why does the field have to be changed at all?
the field won't change. The only thing we.
I mean, why can't it just stay conservation residential? That's what I don't understand. And just.
Future plans that expand into that, like if you have a vision of what you want.
If you move that
I just
part-
want to keep those fields. I want to clean up the tree line is the only thing I want to do there. But I did not want to be limited if we wanted to put something that of use for tables and chairs. I didn't want to, you know, if I decided to expand that on the side that we're building, if I decided to expand that back 10 feet, I didn't want to have to come back through and be rezoned and all of that. I mean, if we keep the field one and we move the property line back that,
right. That's what I'm thinking.
yeah, and then we keep that in, but I've already paid to do that, so if I can be reimbursed for that, or it can put toward next year's taxes or whatever, I don't care. We're not doing anything back there.
On your staff report, Rachel, it says that the rear shall remain the conservation residential. So we're just talking about changing the front two parcels.
That's what I said.
Correct. So we relieve it anyways.
Yes, that's my recommendation, is that the parcel to the west would remain conservation residential, and let me rephrase that. If we are going to do the rezone, my recommendation would be to keep the rear parcel as conservation residential and then have the front two parcels rezoned as general commercial so that the use would be allowed. But we would have to change that rear property line so that the buildings come into compliance.
Yep.
What if we did it all conservation?
If we left all three parcels conservation residential,
And move the line?
and move the line, I would say we would need to ensure that our petitioner would scale. I think at that point, she would have to go and get a special use from the Board of Zoning Appeals. But she would not be able to do basically the reception piece on the site. She could do it as a park with a small wedding venue there. But I think the issue that we're running into is the larger wedding receptions that are happening out there. And that is, with my interpretation, which kind of kicks it more over into a banquet facility because of that use that's happening.
So my question is, what would make everybody happy? What's the happy medium? Is it, let's do the first two parcels and push it back a little bit?
Yeah.
Is that?
I think if you guys are comfortable with rezoning the front two parcels to general commercial, which, I mean, you have to consider that she may not have that business there forever. At some point, she's going to change hands, and that is zoned general business then, or general commercial, so that could be anything that's permitted within our general commercial zoning district.
Although you could dial that in with conditions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can put conditions on there, right?
Yes.
So I'm a
You're
little
thinking my mind.
concerned with the buffer, the buffer on the west
I
side.
bet you do.
So I think the buffer is a Board of Zoning Appeals decision. That would be a variance to development standards, so that's not necessarily something that this board could.
I think anything that's reasonable to the zoning scheme this board can.
Okay.
That's a condition. Statute says reasonable conditions. what's your reason for doing that? I think
Yeah.
we demonstrated we have a reason.
I guess what she has to do really is she has to decide, it's hard to vote on this until we know right where the property line's gonna be. So she has to decide how far to the west the property line she wants to expand. And then after it's redrawn, then we vote to change it to general commercial.
However, she would be investing money in that survey and replat
Right? But she's
that
gonna have to do that anyway.
she is to get her structures into compliance. Yes. I think what you could do is approve it with the condition that the petitioner is going to get it into compliance. And if we can put on there that the condition is that that rear property line will be shifted however many feet in the general, if it's general commercial we're rezoning to, if she needs the additional 16 feet, that you can say that in your conditions, that she needs to move the property line.
And that's if, but
16
that's
feet.
if she doesn't want to expand anymore.
So we can
That's
say-
what I'm saying. If she has to decide that, because if she wants to expand, well, then she has to move the property line. And we don't really we can't enforce that because all we can enforce is the 25 feet. But if she wants to expand it more than that, then she needs to do that when.
Okay, so is
She
the
does it
petitioner
all.
willing to make that decision today?
We'll make that decision today.
Okay. So the 16 feet to the west,
Let's go back 25 feet,
25 feet
That's
to
what I
the
was about to
west?
say, about 25 feet, 25 feet.
and that would cover,
Enough for
Yeah.
something
Whatever, yeah.
small in there.
We can categorize that as
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
So let's put some conditions on it though. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's my
We
other,
have and the commitments are better for us because, not her, but her successor, whatever that may be, if she's made a commitment to certain things, those can't be as easily attacked as conditions.
Right.
So she's made, that's the reason I said that.
okay.
You're good with that, right?
yes.
Okay.
So-
So, yes, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
You good?
we've got that one as a commitment, now other conditions that she
Yeah.
hasn't necessarily committed to.
Okay. So I think this is explaining to the residents. So back behind where your land is, you're okay. You're gonna be protected, okay? So then it's gonna go back 25 more feet, which will give them the ability to make any adjustments that they need. So I think everybody should be happy with that.
Okay, so let me kind of or tell you what my conditions were, or the commitments that I was recommending. That we have the two parcels would be rezoned general commercial. Those two lots would be combined into one lot. However, we would move the property line on the west side. We would move it further west by 25 feet.
That's 25 from the property line.
From the existing property line, we would move it to the west an additional 25 feet.
And you mean
Go ahead.
The entire property?
Right.
Yes,
Not just.
that
No.
blue line, that blue
No,
line.
the blue line.
No, that entire red line
We'll move.
would be moved further west by 25 feet. And that would help all of her structures come into compliance with setbacks. She will obtain proper permits for any existing unpermitted structures. So that would include, the bridal suite that you were talking about. And it would have to, I don't know off the top of my head without reviewing what you want to do for a permit, if that would be, because there's certain regulations about the number of structures on a site and things like that. So we would have to go through that process to make sure that you're in compliance with the zoning ordinance. So this is not a commitment on our part that would be permitted. It does have to follow Madison County zoning ordinance. And if it doesn't, and she wants to go a different route, then she would have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Is there water and sewer there, or is it well and septic?
Water and sewer from the city.
In the church they used to be
That
there,
helps a
right?
lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
helps a lot.
so she'll get her proper permits for any existing unpermitted structures and any future structures she wants to build. She will provide proof if any requirements are needed by Department of Homeland Security. I understand you built the deck very well, but we still need some kind of proof that is able for I guess, what am I?
Public use.
Yes, thank you. Couldn't find my words. The type 3 buffer yard will be installed. Future improvements to the site shall follow Madison County Land Use and Development Code. We would have a limit on the music, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays, and on weekends it would be between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. And then we would record those conditions with the property deed, mainly the timing, the music time.
Okay.
The only thing I would additionally ask is on that type 3 buffer, specifically for those homes on that north property line, to specify exactly what you're gonna do. You had some options there, but
That's
Let me-
staying general commercial.
I'll read the type 3
stand-
buffer yard
CR.
standards, so we're clear.
But do you need a buffer if it's CR? So that's staying CR.
Yeah, because that's a different property zone. Am I right?
If we're rezoning those front 2 parcels, general commercial,
So the buffer would just be on that little section
Oh, on
there.
the south, right? I mean,
No,
the
there's
west side.
No, on the north,
there would be a buffer
there.
on the north side. The
just
full,
over to that red line though.
correct.
Because the rest of it doesn't have to be because that's CR.
Right.
The houses to the north are zoned CR as well. So anywhere where this property is touching the CR, according to ordinance, there should be a buffer.
so the orange
Supposed to be on
line,
3
the
sides.
west,
The north property line would need a buffer according to ordinance.
yes.
The west property line, according to ordinance, would need a buffer, and the south property line, according to ordinance, would need a buffer.
Right, that's the way I
So the
understood it.
current residents, would you like a buffer, or would you like to see what you're
I think
seeing
that
right now?
See
I think that buffer will help with the
The noise,
with the
Yeah,
noise,
then you
the
don't
lighting,
and the
then you
light
can see the
reduction.
She talked about seeing the lights and, in their
Exactly.
houses. I just would like to specify what you're doing there so that sometimes we can ask for, I've seen in the past, some mature tree or larger trees that grow faster growing or whatever, but just something that, not tiny shrubs. It needs
Right.
to-
So a type 3 buffer yard in our ordinance is, it includes a minimum setback of 25 feet in addition to the yard setback otherwise required by this ordinance. In addition, a row of deciduous canopy trees shall be planted parallel to the property line within the buffer yard, with 1 tree placed for every 20 feet along the boundary between the subject and adjoining properties. Also, a 5-foot tall opaque wooden fence or brick or stone wall, a 5-foot undulating mound planted with shrubs, or a row of evergreen trees shall be placed parallel to the property line within 10 feet of the row of canopy trees along the boundary between the subject and adjoining properties. If an undulating mound is used, 1 shrub for every 10 feet of continuous boundary shall be planted on the mound. All required shrubs shall measure 18 inches in height and measured from grade at the time of planting. If a row of evergreen trees is used, 1 tree shall be placed every 10 feet along the property boundary. So it's very specific and clear on what the expectation is.
Okay.
You gotta come up here.
I have a lot of questions.
I'm not sure it's necessary to be on
I
one
don't
side
like that at all.
under this specific.
So the deciduous trees and the evergreen trees are both required as part of the buffer, because the deciduous trees have a way of creeping out into the field and interfering with the equipment they use to raise the hay. So I don't know if an exception can be made, because Kathy's already got part of a buffer there, but consider that you're the farmer here, what deciduous trees along a farm field can mean.
Yeah.
That's all.
And also too, you guys are talking about how you like to see the field. You're not gonna be able to see the field at all once those things grow up. Or a mound or whatever, you're not gonna be able to see the field.
Well,
And
we will, because the mound will be behind the venue, and we are considerably to the west of that.
I thought they're
No.
talking about on the
Guys, microphone, please.
Thank you.
not on the other, on the
On the
north,
north side.
on the north side, you're gonna have a,
On the north
Right
side,
there.
it will completely block, and if I go back 25 feet, so I have to have a mound 25 feet back all the way to the street, and
See?
25 feet off of the fence line? Was that the understanding too?
That's why I
That
questioned
seems,
I'm just looking at the
that
orange
is
line,
just
not all the way
shrinking
down
the
into
property.
Field Road. What do,
Yeah,
I just guess
no,
I'm
we're
just
just talking
confused.
about the front two
The front two
parcels.
parcels.
that
Right.
were
Right, but if I go back
Those people are
25
gonna be-
feet,
They're gonna
then,
be locked in, man. It's gonna.
yeah, you won't see the fields, you won't
You
see
won't
anything. My neighbors across
Off
the
one of those three
street,
houses, I sure wouldn't want that.
they love it because if there's a wedding going on, they go out there and they watch the wedding. You know, it's just really pretty to watch the bride walk up. So that would
You're
be.
gonna box in their whole backyard. They're not gonna be able to see anything.
Well, but the boundary has
Cheryl.
to be between,
Microphone, please.
I'm gonna sit up here.
I thought you said that the boundary, the berm, has to be between two differing zoned properties. So if the whole thing is still commercial residential, you don't have to put a berm between between conservation residential and the houses. Not if it's all still conservation residential.
But what we're talking about though is,
No,
Once
not
it's-
in the front.
once it's rezoned, then it's not going to be conservation residential.
Only part
We're just talking about the front two parcels. We're not talking
walk you
about
through
the
this.
entire
So
field.
the two parcels that are adjacent to County Road 100 are the two parcels that we are talking about rezoning to general commercial. Stacy, could you zoom out just slightly so we can see the southern property line, please? Okay. So to the north of the two properties that we are talking about rezoning, it's zoned conservation residential. To the west, that property is zoned conservation residential, and to the south, it would be zoned conservation residential. So according to the Madison County Land Use and Development Ordinance, if we are rezoning those two parcels, general commercial, they would need a buffer on the three sides.
And we have it on one side. We have it on one side right now.
She has a small buffer here.
Yes.
So the buffer, according to our ordinance, would need to go from here to here to here to here.
Right.
Then,
Man, those
Then,
I see your,
Yeah, that's.
so could we, if it stays all zoned the same, could you put restrictions on me that would protect anyone from building back there? You know, so
Building where?
in the backfield that are completely water soaked, if it all stays the same, so I don't have to put this buffer all the way around, could we just put restrictions for me and for future owners if we sell, that we aren't allowed to do what they're afraid is going to happen?
And even better, you can make a commitment today as the property owner that as a condition of rezone, you will commit to whatever you'd like to commit to.
Yes.
And play the good guy.
See, I understand what Rachel's saying there, but you're doing more harm than good. Because then nobody can see the field on those three houses there. That's going to be right up against the back of their house. They're going to feel all closed in, where now they can see that whole field and everything.
Yeah, we put like a little wood fence. I mean,
think it's-
a little picket wood fence. That's a
I think
buffer.
you're doing more harm than good myself.
It's not that big. 4-foot wood fence.
If I was one of those three houses right there, I sure wouldn't want that.
No.
Because those lots aren't that big anyway, and then you're gonna put
Block
that
them
in
in.
there.
Where are
It's
they
like
okay
being
with
on-
the noise and the lights?
It's like living on a golf course
I
and then
mean-
you put a berm right against
Right.
the golf course.
yeah.
I think
crazy.
Jeff had said these are your rules. If you don't want to follow your rules, you don't have to follow your rules. I am just telling you what your rules say. So that's my role in this, is to say this is what we agreed upon as a county in 2022 or 2002 of what, we as a county envisioned for our future. So if in this particular circumstance, you do not think that this should apply, you are the board that can make that decision. So that is something, the group that is here today, if you don't want that buffer yard requirement, take it off. I'm the messenger. I'm interpreting your ordinance and telling you what you told me your rules were. So If you don't want to follow those rules, you don't have to follow those rules.
But then we open up a precedent.
You don't, because it is based on this parcel only with the conditions on this parcel.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with that.
Well, if we agree that we don't need the buffer, I'm okay with not needing the buffer. My whole suggestion of wanting to understand what was happening was because of the complaints that were here about noise, about lighting, don't want to hear it or see it, or property values. I mean, that's what's said in this complaint. So sometimes berms can help that, or the buffer, with noise. So if the neighbors don't want it.
And the light that they're talking about is, we have one light that we put on Madison Avenue shining in. That can be adjusted. We did that last year. It's just when people were leaving, it was dangerous that there was no lighting for people to leave, and you don't want to hit anyone. So that's why. But that light could be tilted down. It could be, we just have it there for safety. Is the only reason why we put it there, and that happened last summer. So
you could actually have the city come out and put a.
Yeah, the city did that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I would just want to make sure that the petitioner is aware that if we do rezone this, as you've requested, that you will be held to the development standards in the ordinance for the general commercial zoning district. So anytime you're expanding your use, you'll have to follow those guidelines. So even if you decide to do parking lot improvements, they'll have to follow, what is in there. And if not, you'd have to come back before the Board of Zoning Appeals to get a variance on it.
Would I have to anyway without that? I mean, I don't think there's a way around coming to get a permit for anything, I think. I was understanding that concrete was not part of that, but I don't know. Not that we have any plans for more concrete.
You're changing your zoning district. So there are different rules and regulations versus from the conservation residential to a general commercial. So, conservation residential may not have the same lighting standards for a parking lot than conservation residential. So I just want to be clear on that.
Any other comments?
I guess the only comment I have is I'd like to know what the residents think about whether to have a buffer there or not.
I agree, John. I mean, I'm just trying to please and make everybody happy here with it. So what do they want?
Well, the thing is, there's nobody here that lives in those three houses.
There is
The
a
one
letter
couple's in
from
Florida.
here from a petitioner.
I mean, you're just locking them. I guess the other down, I don't mind the one going north and south. It's the one just right behind those three
That orange
houses.
line.
It's just like you're just trapping them in there. And that's gonna be an empty lot anyway. Now, anyway, we don't know about the future.
We park in the field at times.
Yeah.
Yes, when it's dry. Our field in the front.
Can we make a favorable recommendation with her commitments that she stated today on record, with a condition that the petitioner reaches those three homeowners to decide a negotiable, do they want the barrier or no barrier?
Can, practically speaking, we can hold on if there's a disagreement.
Yeah.
What would the-
Some do,
This
some
plan-
don't.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
well, then this planning commission has to decide
Yeah.
it officially. She'd have to come back again
You could
and,
request that the petitioner provide the plan commission with a written description of the agreement reached, written with those three landowners no later than June meeting.
okay,
That would be possible. And if that's not, then this commission will have to play the heavy and decide.
Yeah.
okay. That's
I'm
my,
fine. I'm fine with that.
Long opportunity
Okay.
for it to work out among themselves, and you kids can't figure it out.
yeah, well,
We will.
yeah, exactly. It puts the burden back upon the petitioner to make her neighbors happy and be a good neighbor.
She really wants to do that.
Yeah.
So
So I
that's-
think the one in question's the north, not the west
Correct,
buffer.
yes,
So I think we agree the west.
I agree.
need to stay as is?
If that's the case, we should probably, this is my favorite word to say, always,
Table.
is table this until June.
Okay.
Because if she cannot reach the agreement with the landowners that you're suggesting, the commissioners, you're creating a kind of a mess.
You get the cart before the
You have
horse.
a zoning that's approved by the commissioners contingent to a letter that's going to be presented to this board that may not be presented at all. So at that point, you don't have the, I don't know what you have, but it would be, but that condition, it would be optimally, you'd say, please come back in June with that agreement with those three landowners. If you can't, then we'll decide.
Also, by then, you would have a better idea where you want your property line, because you don't want to lock yourself, since you own that field back in there. There's two things you need to do. One, you need to decide about any future plans. And two, you need to know what the rules are so that you get the line back far enough if you do want to build something there. Because like she said earlier, the buffers are completely different when you change zoning districts. So.
Okay, I understand that now, and there is no permit that could be placed on the 30 by 30 building. Could I have that permit? I have a builder that wanted to start in March, and I'm going to lose him. So, I just am afraid if I don't get that permit for that structure, then the rest of it we could work with the neighbors on if they want a buffer, if they don't, whatever that is. I just really need the permit if I can, so I keep my builder on that structure.
I know time restraints, right? So what we can do is we can always call a special meeting, right? So we always could call a special meeting. But if you got, let's say you got with the landowners in relatively quick time and have a discussion and come back with suggestion, and give you a day or two or a week or so just to look at the land, and then we continue, and then we could come back for this section to deal with this. So if we do,
What could we just leave the buffer in there, and then if in the next month she reaches an agreement with her neighbors and they say we really don't want a buffer, can she come with a written agreement back to us and allow us to waive that stretch of the buffer?
So can we change later?
That way we can at least move on.
Yeah, that.
Because in the one letter, it says they like the view of the cornfields and the tree line they have now.
Yeah, the commissioners have to exactly.
that's what I was gonna figure. So we can't be,
The commissioners, I don't believe can, and this has come up before, but I don't believe the commissioners can vote on an ordinance change that's contingent on further action of the planning commission.
Okay.
Yeah, because see, we don't actually vote, we just
Right.
recommend
And that
on this
recommendation has
particular
to be
thing.
final.
Yep.
So,
Where does that leave me?
So we're gonna have to table this.
We're gonna have to, because it has to go in front of the commissioners anyway.
It would, and I don't know, I understand your predicament. I don't know how we as a plan commission can issue a permit for something that we don't know the zoning district for. Or because the commissioners may see this and say, no, we're not going to rezone it. And now I've issued a permit for something that maybe couldn't have been built in that zoning district.
And then she wasted her money.
And then you lost money, a lot of money.
So I'll put a motion on the floor that we table this.
The other thing, you can confirm what the general construction requirements are for the parking lots, the adding the
There's a
additional
lot of
building.
homework to do.
Mark,
Yeah.
Can you speak into your microphone? I can't hear you.
I assume that would also give us time to clarify in the general construction, the differences between improving the parking lot or making adjustments on the building compared to where it's at right now.
so how do I find out what that requires of us? Right now, we have a gravel driveway that we've widened since the church owned it. And when our lot is dry for a wedding, they park in our field. So,
Just in general, when you have a property and you are doing improvements to a property, you should be contacting the planning department to see what requirements are needed. And that would have not put you in the situation that you're in right now. Every property in Madison County has rules and regulations on it, regardless of where you live, if you live in a city or town or if you live in the county. If you are expanding anything else on your property, if it's zoned conservation residential or if it's going to be zoned general commercial, that's when it triggers you following the requirements of the Madison County Land Use and Development Ordinance. So at this point in time, you've expanded your parking lot and you did that without permission, I guess. And, that is, we're not going to go back and do anything about that at this point. However, if you were going to make any future parking lot improvements, well, if you're going to add a structure, that could kick in adding additional parking lot improvements, depending on how big your venue is and that sort of thing, because there are rules and regulations about how many parking lots you have to have for different types of facilities. So that could trigger a parking lot improvement to be done. So if you are going to be doing that, that's what I'm saying. You should be aware of what is in the development code so that as you're planning your future improvements, you know exactly what you're getting into. Those are all available on Madison County's website. If you go to the Plan Commission page, they're at the bottom of the page and they're listed out for you, and you can look per zoning district what those requirements are.
It can be gravel though, I think. It has to be gravel, but it can be gravel, but it has to be so many spots per the size of the.
I'm not sure for general commercial that that's true, because we have things like ADA requirements that have to be, especially for a general commercial, we're putting in a gas station and we wouldn't allow a gravel parking lot.
Right, that's true.
So that's what I'm saying, we may want to double check those
I want to check
requirements.
all that.
At this
So-
time, she wouldn't have to do anything to that parking lot, but if she is expanding her use,
Yes.
it may kick in parking lot improvements.
And I find that information where and which zoning part am I supposed to look at?
It's on the Madison County website. If you Google Madison County Plan Commission and look for the Land Use and Development Code, it's at the bottom of the page, and then you can click on that and it gives you all of your rules and regulations. When you're working with builders, they're very usually familiar with what steps they have to go through to obtain permits and things like that.
For general commercial stuff. See, there's a lot of differences between the two, so.
Yeah.
I think Stacy's doing it now.
And there may be an interpretation. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if I have to get a lawyer
You can
in
go to
order
the
to
plan-
understand this.
Just talk to planning commission.
Just go to the planning commission and ask questions.
I was trying to show her how to get there. At the bottom of our page is the land use and development code.
Yeah.
So it has all the standards, and if, like Stacy, you can click on 6.7 for any of the standards. So at the top, it has the different colors, and those are the different zoning districts that we have. And so, for example, if you're in the, I think general commercial is right there, that lighter blue color. So that section applies to the general commercial. So you would have to read through this and understand that that's what your zoning district allows, that you need to make sure you're following those rules and regulations for your zoning district. And it's the same with conservation residential. And that's basically how you got here today, is you weren't aware that this existed. So conservation residential zoning districts doesn't allow the use that you have, according to Madison County. So when people buy properties, you really should be looking at your zoning district to know what you can and cannot do on your property, to know if you do truly want to purchase that property or not.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it would be, what Mr. Brown was suggesting was actually a continuance until June 14th. This building, this room at 845 acres.
Okay. So we have that motion. Do we need to vote on that, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And if we continue it, she stopped for 30 days.
Well, yes, she doesn't have her approval.
Well, the main reason is because if we have anything that's not completely voted on, then the commissioners can't vote on it. And
Right.
all we're doing is just giving a favorable or non-favorable recommendation to the commissioners
You
anyway.
have to finish your job before the commissioners.
Can do their job.
We want to set her up for success, not failure. So we want to put her in the best possible situation.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue this. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Mark Gary,
Yes.
Denise Spooner,
Yes.
Lindsey Brown,
Yes.
George Shepherd,
Yes.
John Zimmerman.
Yes.
And Corey Belander.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel, back to you.
All right. Okay, the next thing on our list is a update on Drew's Parts. I met with Mr. Drews about his property. We reviewed what the action plan was that Mr. Newman had put together.
I reprinted it, sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Do we have everything?
Yeah, I made sure this
Okay,
it was all
I
there.
appreciate it, Stacy. Sorry about that, you guys. It was an odd thing that happened. So if you look at the action plan that I put together, the ones that, I'm not quite sure if you guys have colorful things on it.
Yeah.
The ones that are all labeled April 27th, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Drews, sorry. I do that all the time. Those two first names.
Easy now.
That's true. Those all have been met. I am currently reviewing permit applications that he has submitted for a driveway permit, and also, I don't know if you've turned in your sign permit applications. Okay, so I will be looking at those. There is a deadline of May 31st of 2022 for substantial completion of the approved stormwater infrastructure plan at 705 East School Street. There has been work on the buffer yard that's been done. I think Mr. Drews had some concerns about the September 1st, 2022 deadline of having all outdoor equipment, parts, and materials moved indoors. I had shortened that. Originally, it was January 4th of 2023. And I moved it to September 1st, 2022. So he can speak on that if he would like, if that's okay with the Plan Commission. I did have a stipulation on there that site work may occur between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. However, there was a complaint that work was being done after 7 p.m. on Sunday. So I would like to talk with Jeff Graham about that later. However, do you guys have any questions of me of where the status is of this currently?
No, on Sunday, I called Kelly, and he shut it down after it was about almost 8 o'clock when I called him.
Mhm.
Telling him to shut it down, and he took care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did make the call.
Can you define your word substantial, Rachel?
Yes.
With the percentages of like trying to get done, can we just say he is to be done by those dates? I mean, what is substantial completion?
That is not our determination to make. That is the Drainage Board's determination on what substantial completion is. So that would have to be clarified by that board, not our board, or me.
Okay.
But that is what they have stated in their letter to Mr. Drews.
Okay.
So we can get that clarified by the Drainage Board if you would like.
Also,
I mean, I think substantial completion it's done. You know, there might be minor details hanging out there that have to get, you know, like the grass seed has to grow. But substantial completion typically is your site plan is done. And if, you know, we have to keep an eye on, you know, seeding or I don't know what else there could be on a project like this.
Birthday cake's done, you just have to go.
Yeah.
And
So it's a hell of a lot more than 50 or even 75.
It's like 99.9% complete.
okay.
All right.
Back in January, we had discussed a scope of work from the contractor because the contractor said he wasn't aware of any deadlines. Did you guys ever get a scope of work with a completion date and plans from any contractor?
I did request the most up-to-date drainage improvement plans, and I did receive those from Jason Miller on April 25th. However, I was not aware to request a scope of work from him. I would assume that the scope of work is included in that drawing packet. So I don't know what else additionally we would be requesting from him. My opinion is also that that is Mr. Drew's responsibility, is to convey this timeline to his contractor to ensure that there is compliance and that he meets his deadlines.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So is there
right.
any action that we need to take?
I got a question for Kelly though, real quick.
Okay.
Come on up, buddy.
In regards to your question, real quick, you guys can make a motion to accept the timeline as
Are we gonna
presented.
do that?
Kelly Drews, 705 East School Street.
So in draining the pond so you guys can finish, did you get the long pipe to go the other way yet?
No, we talked about that Sunday
Yeah.
when you called me, and we're working on that.
Okay.
I wish we already just found, we had one and we had one. So if anyone has a 4-inch pump, I can rent it. I'm gonna pump it to the west so it don't go into the ditch.
Where does it go to the west?
It's gonna go into my property.
Oh.
It'll just go, because I've got, I mean, it's all my woods in that back there, and it just kind of, it's very wet back there, but there's the topography, it's gonna go that way, and the way we looked at it, it's not gonna like feed back into the pond or anything.
It'll go into a drainage over there, and then after, because was it like the clay drains that's back there? I forgot what it's called back there, but then they go into Killbuck Creek eventually. And it's nothing but, muddy water. And I called because,
Can you talk into your microphone? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I called because when I talked to him, what's happening now is that because there's muddy water coming from his property, like I literally have a mud pool in front of my house, right? But then as you go and it drains from my house, it goes into the actual drain that goes into our lake. And so our lake is half brown and half the regular color. And so it's starting to look real bad, right? Because it look like coffee out there. I got a coffee pond with ducks in my front yard. And so, and I was talking to him and he said he was trying to get a 4-inch pump to redirect it to the west side, so then it just will go through his land, which would be perfect because I know all the neighbors have been complaining because they can't even keep their cars clean, and I can't even keep my whole yard cut because I can't get down there because of all that water down there. And so if he could get that done, because I know he has to pump that water out so he can actually excavate it to be able to finish the job that he needs to do.
If it wasn't for the rain, it'd be done.
Right. And so we're trying to figure out, a compromise on where you could redirect this water to continue to keep your job. And
we were redirecting it before the real rains came.
Mhm.
We had some water in there. We were with the smaller pump. We would redirect it just to the north because we had plenty of. I mean, we have a low spots there, and it was just filling up there. Well,
yeah, I've seen that.
Then when the rains came, that's when nothing was going to hold it. It was
Right.
just going to feed back into the pond. It just became so saturated. I mean, it could be dry, but where it's at, it's just there's just a steady stream, and
Mhm.
so yeah, because I didn't want any of it running into the ditch anyways. That's why I said we're going to pump it north. There's not that much in there. Knew we were all good until the big rains came, and then it changed. Then the pond was about over half full. So it did its job, yeah, but it did its job a week too early.
Yeah.
So how far do you have to pump it to the west to do
800
that?
feet. And I found Anderson Renault, they don't use 4-inch pumps no more, and he says he's probably got 600 or 700 feet. And what I would do then, I would just take an excavator or something. I just make a trench just to get it where the water's going the other way so it isn't coming back at us. And we've got a 4-inch pump, but it's down and the guys are working on it. It wasn't even, it was the contractor's pump, and we're trying to fix it to get it going. Because pump that much water that far, I don't even think a 3-inch would probably do it. I don't know. So if you got a 4-inch pump, let me know.
Where is the water going again? Is it going into any public sewer drains or anything like
No.
that? It's gonna stay on your property though,
When it goes
correct?
west,
Yeah, going west.
as far as I know, it's staying on it'll stay on the property. I mean,
It'll eventually trickle to Killbuck Creek
Okay.
in the same way it'll do right now. You know, if we have a large rain, what happens is our lake in the back of our house, it rolls over into Killbuck Creek if the lake gets too high. Because it's a no wake lake, so anything that's coming in there, right, from his property is just adding to the lake.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
So, let's talk about the last item on there. You got September 1st, 2022, which is aggressive, right?
very.
You want to talk about that?
As I told Rachel, and as I think I told Wes, we had it set for the end of this year, and that's very doable. And we will, but that September 1st, I guess we could talk about in a couple months and see how far we are. I mean, that's the best I can do on that. So I got guys 6 days a week, just doing what we gotta do to get the machines inside.
So if we vote on this today, and we approve September 1st, anything after September 1st becomes a fine.
Well, I guess the first thing was, the date that was first set was in January 4th of next year, or December 31st, whatever it was, that she graciously changed. Or ungraciously, let's say. That was sarcasm.
Aggressively.
There you
Aggressively. To push the envelope. On your buffer yard too, I talked to you about it. So what is happening, a lot of times you got some of that water that's draining from the buffer yard, and it's going on, instead of going down through the proper ditch, it's going across the street. And so it's flowing across the street instead of flowing where the ditch is, and now it's starting to go to MacArthur. And MacArthur already has flooding area, has a flooding problem right there. So it's increasing the flooding on MacArthur. So we need to, somehow we got to look at that, because I don't want that to continue, because MacArthur, right there where you turn in, already has a big problem coming from Killbuck Creek from the east side, right, over to the west. So we got it, water going in different directions now, so we got to look at that.
Okay, I think another piece of what makes this project challenging is that we have multiple departments that are involved with the project.
That would be somebody else?
Drainage and
Okay.
ditches and roads would
Okay.
have to go to the appropriate department heads or boards to get addressed. So
Okay.
as a plan commission, there's only so much we can do. We can focus on our planning related items with this. The issue with the pond that you're talking about, Lindsay, I think that's more of a drainage or Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District conversation. So going to those boards or going to their department heads would be how we solve those problems.
Okay, no, that's not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Rachel, do you know does anybody know when Drainage Board meets?
Wednesday.
Not this
Second and fourth.
second, fourth, but they're canceled tomorrow's meeting.
Or,
Tomorrow's canceled.
yeah, generally Denise, it's the second and fourth Wednesdays at 9 o'clock.
Okay, and then this has to go through Madison County Soil and Water Board as well?
That's a state agency.
And when do they meet?
I don't know.
Okay. That's not
The only
a
involvement
county?
the Soil and Water has is the Rule 5 compliance, which is the silt fencing and the erosion controls.
Okay.
And that's just basically spot checking to make sure that it's in place properly. They don't have any other jurisdiction over the project otherwise.
Well, thanks for explaining.
And she's been out there more than once.
Yeah.
I call her on a weekly basis just so she can make sure everything's good.
And that was one of my requirements on here, was to make sure that the erosion control measures are in place. That is not my expertise as a planner, and I don't try to pretend it is. So I did reach out with Brandy and to confirm that, she was satisfied with what was happening out there. And I do have an email from her and her report on file. So, from my perspective as interim planning director, I need to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence with what the planning commission is supposed to do with this property, and that's what I got.
Kelly, can you meet
I'd like to
these
know why you can't
May
read it when
31st
it says
deadline?
2% will talk.
That's all fine.
It don't rain no more.
Pardon me?
If it doesn't rain anymore. I mean, the pond would have been done. We were like 3 days from completion before the skies opened up.
And how long will it take to dry out?
So you're
Be
okay
out
with
for
all
this
this?
weekend, maybe?
It'd be nice. I mean, we're using a 3-inch pump to get it back out right now. If we had the 4-inch, it's just so much quicker. But I would hope by today or tomorrow, it will be empty. And, well, probably not today, I'd say tomorrow, I would hope. It's just a matter of how much it's gotta get out of there. I mean, and then it's gonna have time to dry. So we can get down in there, because there's literally 2 sections of dirt that's still in there that needs to get out. So, crazier things happen, but I don't see May 31st being a problem. But nothing's guaranteed.
Well, for the neighbors and everything out there, we've drug this on now for over a year, and I just want to make sure we finally get an
just
end.
close the door on
Finally get an
it.
end.
Let's
Yes,
close
thank
the door
you.
on
Thank
it.
you,
I
thank you,
agree.
thank you,
It's
thank you.
also very clear that this commission has ordered, directed both Rachel and myself, that if that plan is not complied with, if you miss one of the deadlines, there's no further action of this commission. I've been directed to file a lawsuit. So if there's a problem with one of those today, you said there's no guarantees. I understand that. We're dealing with
Mother
weather,
Nature.
yes. But if it's not a very high certainty that it'll be done, now would be the time to ask for an extension, because this commission will not meet again until after that deadline passes. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not making any recommendation on what you do, but this will be, today is your last opportunity, at least at a regular meeting, to ask for any changes to that timeline as it relates to May 31st. That will be here in 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
To be clear, the May 31st deadline for substantial completion of the stormwater infrastructure is not our board's decision to make.
Correct.
That is the drainage board put that regulation or that deadline on you. So
That's when
on our list, because we will follow up with the drainage board to ensure that that got done on time. But that is not something that you guys have the authority to change for that first May 31st deadline.
Okay.
We are the ones that would be enforcing the type 3 buffer yard to be getting installed. So,
What day is that, Rachel?
that, I have that as May 31st.
May 31st also.
I mean, in my mind, that is site work, and he is doing site work with the drainage improvement plan, and that can be done in tandem with that work.
Right.
And May is a great time to plant for trees and shrubs and things like that. So if we go beyond May, it may not make sense to
do it.
A planting buffer. So.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the buffer. I think that's the least of the worries.
So everything else is out of our control. It's in your court now.
Mr. Drews, do you own the fence line between you and MacArthur Court there, that?
I would guess it's part of my property, yes.
Okay, so you maintain that fence then? So,
like the grass and that, or?
yeah, all the shrub,
Down almost to, I can't think what the road is. We pretty much always stop there because all the neighbors throw their clippings there, and where the road is, it's always been like a 1 foot drop off, and there's literally no way to get a mower down there, down the county there.
okay. The only other concern I had too was the site work being the hours and weekends, holidays, and I mean, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m., but, can the neighbors have peace and quiet on the weekends? And
at this point, no. We got a deadline.
Well, like a lot of these deadlines have already been given you extension several times, so can you just hire more work hire more people to get it done?
It's not, I'd have to go in my contract, right? It's not the more work, it's just the work that's there needs, I mean, it's a 3-man or 4-man job, and they've got all the machines going to get it out of there.
Well, I just, as many complaints that we've had 7 days a week with this, especially holidays. I mean, I feel like the neighbors at least deserve a Sunday of peace and quiet. So, I don't know, Lindsay, I don't live out there. You do. You listen to it. So I don't know what a compromise is, but I feel like, we've already been gracious many, many times to extend this. And emails keep coming like crazy, so.
Right, I get them. I get the phone calls. I get the knocks on the doors.
You want to modify this to say site work may occur between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday?
Yeah, let's do that.
Rachel, could you use the microphone?
Okay, it's not working at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I can't hardly hear you.
Also for the, I've just been contacted by the Drainage Board Secretary. She would like you to know that there's engineers and contractor are going to look at the side ditches along the further.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell them, let me know. I can meet them out there. I'm working from home.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I've got one more thing on this.
So I did have it written down that we would do a stop work order if work is occurring after 7 p.m. And that's one of the things I just want to confirm with Jeff today is how we go through the stop work order process. I'm not sure if it's just different here in Madison County. I don't know the steps yet. So, I guess what I'm envisioning for it, I don't know if this is what's written on how we proceed with that, but a stop work order typically goes, if we get a proof that you were working after 7 p.m., we would do a stop work order. There's a fine for that stop work order having to be put in place, and then a reinstatement fee to continue working on the site. So I want you to be aware of that as we're moving forward, that is the process that will happen if the Plan Commission agrees to, this commitment, this action plan with the stipulation that there's Monday through Saturday work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
On the work that was being done, could you tell them what was being done on the site?
It was you just running the pumping water out.
We're just pumping water out. There was really no work. The
hits one
pump was
neighbor.
working, but no one else was working.
It hits that one neighbor that lives right there. So it's an elderly lady. She has dementia, and so her bedroom is right there against that backside. And I don't know if people know, dementia patients, especially when the sun goes down, their moods change a lot. So, I mean, things change. So, just out of respect to that lady, right? She's, her son is there with her and she's dealing with dementia. So.
Well, and I'd like clarification of a condition that he does get the 4-inch pump and he does move the water to the west instead of down there. If that other lake is being affected with all that mud, I don't hear that.
That's drainage.
Yeah, that drainage.
But that's drainage board.
So
I think that's
drainage board?
overstepping our
Okay.
role as a plan commission, and that belongs to a different board.
Okay.
9:30 tomorrow morning.
Well, I'm not on that board, but.
No, this one here will be out tomorrow.
Okay.
And I actually live on a lake, and when there's big rains like this, our lake gets muddy like that also. And then and there's, the whole lake is grass. I mean, it's not like it's all dirt. So it's like that on any lake. When it rains that hard, there's gonna be dirt and that that's in there, then it settles down. I mean, you could go to Morris Reservoir right now, and it's still gonna be that coffee looking chocolate syrup, whatever. And it's how it always is anywhere.
I can tell you though, but I've been there for 13 years and it's never been that way. And that's why it became real prevalent to me. And actually the neighbors came to me that lives on the lakeside, and I walked down there to their side, and right where the water is flowing in at, you can see it. It's almost like remember when we had the little oil spill and you can see the separation between the oil and the water. You can see that like in the lake. And I took some pictures of it on my phone.
It wasn't a little one. It was like the Exxon Valdez.
Yeah, but that's how it kind of looks. You see that huge separation, and you can see it traveling east actually, right? So, And when you got people that, and it's getting warm outside, so you get a lot of people out there that's fishing and starting to fish, right? The neighbors starting to fish and get on the boats, and some of the kids get out there and get in the water. I mean, nobody wants to, you can't see where you're going, right? So,
Fish can't see either. It's hard to catch.
yeah, so.
And I would say with an issue like that too, if
drainage.
if the settlement or the sediment is settling, it could change the depth of that pond,
Yeah.
which then could have some impacts on drainage and stormwater.
Mhm.
So, and depending on who the owner of the pond is technically, those owners could have a lawsuit against you for that. So I would be mindful of that as we're moving forward as well.
Thank you, Rachel,
Thank
for
you.
that.
So let's put a, I guess
So can I request something then?
gonna cost you money.
That's all it does anymore. So I can't well, obviously if I want a buffer for an extra month, obviously I'm gonna take it, but you guys can't, that's up to the drainage board? Is that what you're saying, Jeff? So it's not up to them anyway, so I take that to the drainage board? Yes. Okay, so on September 1st, I would.
Take it to us.
Yes, I would like that to go back to the original date of December 31st, January 4th, end of the year, and to get all the machines that were partying out inside. Okay.
I just want to give you guys my reasoning for changing that original deadline. There were a series of lean-tos that Mr. Newman and Mr. Drews had talked about having constructed to move that equipment into. When Mr. Drews and I met, he did let me know that he had purchased an additional property and that he was no longer needing the lean-tos, so they were not going to be constructed. The site where he was going to be moving the equipment is already existing. So in my mind, without having to construct additional structures, that it should cut down on a timeline. There's already an existing structure to move the equipment to. So that, in my mind, that timeline then can change because we are not dealing with the same set of circumstances as we were when Mr. Newman put that timeline into place. My other concern is that with the site, when we're getting into the winter months, we're going to be running into soft ground and
Exactly.
getting that equipment out of there. It's kind of a wash for me that, can we really use the months of October, November, December to be moving large equipment somewhere?
Right.
But
I agree.
that was my reasoning for changing the deadline to September 1st.
And it's the buildings there, it's not moving the equipment around in the wet, the cold, whatever. It's cutting it up and getting it gone for good so that we can condense what we have, which we've been here, and we're down to here. So we take it to here, and then whatever's left then goes in the building. So I've got 6 guys, 6 days a week out there cutting off the good stuff, putting in inventory, all the other stuff goes right out the door. So my thing is getting, well, it's under control, but getting it down to where everything that comes in can go right into the building and it never has to sit outside. So that's what we're doing, is cutting and cutting and cutting to get rid of the scrap so it can go to the scrap yard and we can have our good parts and engines and transmissions and stuff ready to go. So it's taking the whole, which the machines she's talking about, is taking the whole machines and putting them all inside. Well, I don't have an Amazon warehouse right now, so, but by the end of the year, all those machines will be cut up and they will be controlled where when they come in, they go right in the building and we can get a certain amount in there and that's what goes in the building. So it's not that we've got everything in place to put it all under roof. We've got to get it cut up.
So what's outside right now, is that already been cut up or is it waiting to be cut up?
It's being cut up. Yeah. But everything that's
And
outside right now, I
You've always
can't put
got
it.
equipment coming in too, new equipment to cut up, right?
Yes. At a way slower rate until we get all that down so it can all go in the building. Yeah, now it's pick and choose very, very strictly.
So with that being said, and I'm glad you brought that up, I don't want to stop your operations, right? Because you are a business, and I said that from the beginning. But at the same time, I am the resident that lives there, and so I have to deal with it. And you're gonna have equipment coming in as well as you got old equipment outside, and you only got so much manpower to be able to do the job. I think I like her plan, and it's aggressive. Actually, for a second, I was gonna try to see if I could move it up to July 31st, but I'm okay with the September 1st, right, of 2022. So I'd like to put a motion on the floor to accept this plan as is, as stated. Because you will run into that situation to where you have heavy equipment, so we're gonna run into some bad weather, and then you're gonna be, it's gonna be stuck in the mud. It's gonna be hard to get to. It's gonna have to be hard for equipment to get back here to get it out. I mean, this is the best time. So you might have to reallocate some manpower to focus on that to get it out quicker than what you expected. But I think you would be happy with it in the long run, because what I've seen, what you have done, and I've been up to your shop, right? And I've seen the things that you have changed, and I think you would not have made those changes if your back wasn't up against the wall, right? And I think you did it for the better. And I guarantee you that after you sit down and you sit back, you're gonna feel like your company is a lot better off to where it was.
In the end, when everything's done, that I would hope, I'd hope the neighbors would be happier with, they're gonna be looking at a 3-acre pond that's all grass.
Actually, I think I don't know if I told you, but I'm actually I'm happy for what you are doing, right? To make it better. I was unhappy at first, especially when you took all the vegetation out, which caused a lot more of the water flow and the drainage problems and everything else. And now that you're trying to mitigate this situation to stop it from happening as often as it did, I appreciate it. But at the same time, it took hell and high water just for us to get to this point. And so I think, her plan is a good action plan, and I'm glad you're following it and you're getting it done as well as what the other commissions have put together. And I think we should continue on with this. Now, I do want to tell you though, just like she pointed out to you, if you do not make them dates, they do have sole custody just to go ahead and file a lawsuit on you. And I hate to see you get into that situation, right? And but we're there now. So it's my vote. If when they call for a vote, is to go with the plan as stated.
What's the revision for it to say operation between
Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yes.
That I'm fine with, but the revision from taking 3 or 4 months out, okay, November, December's wet, whatever, it's bad weather. Yeah, I've got September, October, up to that, it's 2 more months. Then, I mean.
And I'll do you one more, right? So, and you got my phone number. If you pumping water on Sunday and you taking it the other direction and they can't hear it, and you call me up and say, Lindsay, will you come up here and check? I will go to my to my neighbors to say, he's just pumping water, and it's not that loud.
They're still gonna hear it because that pump's gonna be right down there. The pump's gotta
I'll
be
take that
down
away
where the
then.
water is, where MacArthur is, so that's why we gotta pump it so far.
Okay.
Because that's the deepest part, is right there where the outlet is, so that's why it all runs that way, and we even have the pond going from shallower to deeper.
I'll take that back then, I'm sorry.
I'm fine with.
I tried though,
My only, when she gave me that sheet, I even told her right then, I said, I will meet all those dates, but that September 1, I just don't, I disagreed with it, and when we did it was December 31st or whatever. I mean, you could put December 1st. That gives me, I do December 1st. If there's gonna be but to September 1st, set me up for failure.
What if you compromised and went to October 31st? That way you're kind of halfway between September 1st and his wish for December 31st. And typically September and October are still good months to do outside work.
Trying to pray on it in my head.
Just making a suggestion.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on this?
I want to see if he comes up with the May 31st deadline first before I make any exceptions personally. It's going to be a lot easier if we know that he's hit those deadlines.
That's a good point, Mark.
I'm just thinking if he's moving all that equipment off site, that's a lot of hauling and that takes a lot of time. And if he's got stuff coming in all the time too, it's.
But that's where I don't want to.
That's where it's just never going to stop.
I don't want to get into that rut, right? Where eventually you're going to have to understand where if you still got equipment coming in and you still got to deal with the equipment you got in your face. And I understand you got a business to make money, right? But sometimes you got to deal with your problem that's right in front of your face right now.
Yep.
We'll have 3 more meetings to come to this commission as far as.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not saying that if you came and you show like significant improvements, I'm around the corner. You know where I live. I could walk over there. Actually, I could leave from here today, go look at where you at right now. And let's say we got to that July 31st date, and you said, Lindsay, man, I'm gonna need your help get an extension. But I see a tremendous amount removed from there. I would be okay with coming and asking the board, saying, yes, I looked at this from this date to this date. It's a trend. I mean, he has took away a whole bunch of equipment. And then I would help okay that extension.
You should have stopped in months ago, like you and Wes and John came out, but if you would come in monthly, you would see the progress. And
But I have, though.
and I can show you the progress on paper. That's the thing.
I have, because I fly my drone over. So I have. So I have seen the progress, and that's why I spoke on it, right? And so, but I'm gonna leave this date to where it's at right now. And I'm actually, when we leave here, I think I got a meeting coming up, but I will go I come to your office and we'll go out there and look. I'm gonna change shoes because I know it'd be muddy, last time
Not too bad right now.
Okay. But I'm gonna go and I'm gonna come and see you and we're gonna go look at it, right? And then I'm gonna take my visual.
Yeah.
But we're gonna leave this date as it is and vote on it. And then if you get close to that, we got what, 3 more meetings.
For the September 1st.
We'll take it into consideration.
Yeah, and then we'll look at it.
Yeah, like I said months ago, I was like, you guys are all welcome to come out. You guys want to see it? I mean, stop out.
So Lindsay, did you have a motion?
Yeah, I got a motion on the floor to accept the plan as stated, with the change of working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Yes, sir. Mark Gary,
Yes.
Denise Spooner,
Yes.
Lindsey Brown,
Yes.
Tom Shepherd.
Yes.
John Zimmerman.
Yes.
Corey Bowlander.
Yes.
Thank you.
I got you. I'll be up there.
Thanks, guys.
County engineer did state to me just now that 10:30 for the county engineer will be out there tomorrow for a site review.
At 10:30?
10:30, and she's happy to meet the property owners and you guys.
Okay.
I'll draw on the carpet.
Yes, yeah, up to 4 of you guys can go out there.
Right. And then she'll be there, and then somebody else will be there at 9, right?
No, I missed the county engineer corrected the 9:30.
Okay.
So Lindsay, will you be out there then?
Tomorrow, Wednesday? I gotta be in the office tomorrow. I'll have somebody there though.
Okay.
All right,
Maybe they can FaceTime me or something.
moving along. We've got, I'm going to talk about the next 2 things kind of in tandem. We have some issues with our permit and receipt program for the planning department. Our current program is set to be out of commission on June 1st, which is right around the corner. I believe this was an issue that we had previously known about, but no action had been taken up until this point. So now we're kind of in crunch time and we are a little nervous in the planning department. What we did do is there is a quote for an iWorks program. It does look a little scary when you look at the cost. However, we have some ideas on how to make this work. The iWorks program is a permitting program that is getting more and more popular with counties and municipalities. When I was down in Pendleton,
I don't know if they're the same or different.
Stacy, do we have the iWorks? Nope, they've got it.
I got it all.
Yes, you are excellent. So the iWorks program is one that is almost a one-stop shop for our planning department. We can put all of our permits, we can put all of our applications that are filed for BZA meetings and plan commission meetings in this. And it is by parcel, which is so fantastic because we can click on a parcel and it will tell us, once we get all of our data input in the program, it will tell us, if there was a special use granted on it. It will tell us if there was a violation on it, and we have a whole history of that property. Right now, what we have to do, we have paper files. They all get shipped up to the highway department at a certain amount after a certain time period. So if we have an issue with a property that we need to do research on, we are sending staff out to the highway department and spending staff time on digging through old documents that we may or may not find. So this is modernizing our permit and our filing system. There is a startup fee for it, and then there is a yearly maintenance fee on it so that we get support on it if we have any issues that we're running into. It's GIS based. When I was down in Pendleton, we had looked at getting this, and after I had left Pendleton, they finally pulled the trigger on it and got the program. One of the things I want to show you today is a permit report from Pendleton on what they did just in the month of March this past year. Pendleton also has updated their fee schedule, which I'd like to talk to you guys about today too. So if you look at the last page, you can see how much money that they are bringing in on a monthly basis, which is about $850,000. The second paper that I'm passing out is showing you what we brought in as a planning department since January 1st. You can see there's a substantial difference between a more modern way of using a planning department to what we have right now. There is a little bit of a difference, of course, with Pendleton. They have impact fees that they are now collecting, which is something that this board really should consider moving forward with as well. Impact fees are collected at the time of permitting, so not all of that money that's listed on Pendleton's is going to the planning department. However, a chunk of that money is going towards future road improvement projects. You guys are at on the Planning Commission in a very exciting time for Madison County, where we have so much growth going on in South Madison that we can capture a lot of funds to do improvements to our county. So I just want to kind of paint that bigger picture for you that, sure, this permitting program is a substantial cost. However, we have the opportunity to bring in a lot more revenue than we currently are. In my packet, like I said, I really feel like we need to adjust our fee schedule as well. If you look at, I have a proposed fee schedule, and it compares what our current fee schedule is with what I'm proposing. Right now, we do not charge petitioners who file for a site plan review, which really kind of blew my mind. We spend a ton of staff time reviewing site plans. Right now we have one, it's for Rose Lake Estates. They're wanting to do an expansion, and we could have captured funds on that application process, and we are not. So that is something that I am proposing that we update that fee schedule. It may be, I think Stacy gave you the second page of the fee schedule. There's 2 pages. Okay.
You got it.
Yeah.
There should be a page 1 and page 2. This would be all of our fees from.
3 pages, actually. It's on the back of that.
Well, what
It's attached to the timeline for Drew.
the extra one that I just gave you guys has both of those pages on it.
Okay.
Well, I personally always thought that our fees were way too cheap.
They are very cheap.
And compared to Hamilton County or whoever, Hancock County, we're cheap. I mean, I see why.
When were our current fees put into place? You know?
Years ago.
1942.
My guess it was in the 90s.
I said that out loud. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, just reviewing this in the last week or so, the building inspector, we are currently charging $40 per inspection. I would say that our cost is much more than that. We have a vehicle that he takes that we are struggling with keeping that vehicle working for him. So we need to, and then gas has increased substantially. So these are, if we are updating our fee schedule, that will help solve some of our problems that we currently have.
How much does it cost for him to do that? Where's it at? Where's it from at?
We would propose a $75 inspection fee versus the $40 one that we have currently set.
Is this in line with everybody else's, Rachel?
I would say they are. Before I had left Pendleton, we had updated this a couple of times, and they had since updated it since I had left. So it's very much in line with what Pendleton was doing. When I was there, we had researched Hamilton County and surrounding municipalities as well to see what their fee schedules were like. Something that was really shocking to me too is the rezone fee that we currently have. So I think we have a flat fee that we charge for a rezone plus a dollar amount per acre. I had a gentleman in the South Madison area that approached me about a rezone. I think he had like 290 acres. And he was like, Rachel, this is going to cost me $23,000 to file a rezone. And I was like, holy cow, wait a minute. Like, that is very much out of line. I think on ours, I've proposed a $300 or $500 rezone fee because that is much more in line with what, Hamilton County's is around $400 for a rezone. That's a lot of money for a petitioner to invest on a decision that you could say yes or no on. Yep. And that's just not appropriate. What we try to base a fee schedule off of is our staff time and materials or equipment use that we need. And that's how I feel like it's appropriate to justify what those costs would be on a fee schedule. $23,000 for a rezone is just not appropriate.
90 per acre.
90 per acre.
Where did they ever come up with that?
I don't know. I don't know where it came from, but I was shocked. And on one hand, we were like, this is the way we could pay for our new permitting system, but that's just not right. So I would encourage us to really take a look at this and adjust it. I'm trying to think if there was other things that we were not charging for. The site review was a big one for me. Also, I included a provision in there that if we have to contract anyone to review like a drainage plan or a like any type of engineer that is beyond what our county engineer could do or has time to do, that we would then bill the petitioner for that fee that we need to do if we need to do that review. Currently, our ordinance or our fee schedule does not say that, and I think that is not, we shouldn't be picking up the tab on new development.
If we approve this, when would you want to make it effective?
I think with a fee schedule, we have to approve it in a meeting like this, and then I think it has to be advertised for 30 days before it can go into effect.
I believe we have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Just like public comment. And
Yeah.
if we have to show that the fees proposed are rationally related to the expense.
Can we just do it at the next meeting?
Yes, we can, if that's what we want to do.
Yeah, no, I have one question. I'm going through it. Decks and patios, you got it. We wasn't charging nothing. We got to send an inspector out there, and you got $75 over 50 square feet. Can it just be $75?
It can, and that's why we have this to review. And I do need to have our building inspector review it as well as Stacy and Liz if I've done something that we don't typically do or something is out of line with. I tried to take our current fee schedule and then align it with a new fee schedule. So, hey.
I can tell you that when you read or look at the ordinance or online, it says we charge for a driveway permit. Well, we have I've been here 3 years, and prior to, I guess since basically conception maybe, that we've never collected fees for driveways. So I don't know if that was changed from the highway, but we don't, I've never, and Liz has never, she's been here 15 years, they've never collected fees for a driveway permit.
But the driveway permit does come in through our office, and we send it to, we review it according to our standards, and then we send it to highway. So, in my mind, we are touching an application. There is and we have to take our staff time to review it. So, in my opinion, we should be charging for that time on reviewing and then forwarding it on to highway. And then do we end up issuing the permit at the end of the day after highway signs off on it? Rhonda issues it?
No, she does not. I do. Jim goes out and looks at them, then he sends it to me and tells me what agreement to send. And then I issue the permit number to them. So
that's not what Rhonda would do. Okay. So we can get that figured out and make sure that we're clear on what the actual process is.
And actually, the reason I came, Rachel, I'm Jessica Bassett, I'm the county engineer. I was listening online, and the reason I came was because we apparently have different groups working on the same initiative, and I want to make sure that we're not conflicting with each other. One of the proposals that we've been working on for the next round of ARPA funding is this. It's streamlining the permitting process. It's bringing the system centralized. It's putting it online so that everything is tied electronically to the parcels. And so I want to make sure that you knew that, because I don't know that Brad and I were working on it quite a bit before Brad left. Tom had been involved in some of those discussions, and we've been working with IT and with Council of Governments. And I don't know that we brought Rachel into the loop, so I apologize for that. But I want to make sure that we're all working on the same thing in the same direction instead of fragmenting it. And the reason I stopped by was because it's got the potential to get ARPA funding for it, because it involves digitizing and making records available online, which is part of one of the initiatives for the ARPA funding.
Sure.
So it's not as quick of a process as what I think Rachel may need. So she may need something for a stopgap here for a couple of months, but
yeah, because we have nothing.
Right.
I mean, it
and
ends
was my fear.
June 1st, and
I think it'll involve the surveyor's office and county highway engineering, planning department, health department. We've heard a little bit of discussion with the sheriff's department. So it's a big initiative, which would be great overall for the county. But I don't think it's as quick as what she needs immediately.
Right, and
sorry to totally jump in.
No, and Jess did tell me about this previously in the ARPA funds, and I know there's a procurement process with it, right? And so but that is our urgency, is that we don't have, as of June 1st, a program to do what we need to do.
Right.
And that's where and even with the adjustment in the fee schedule, that will take some time for us to collect new funds and things like that. So what we kind of came up with in office to give you guys some options on how we pay for this moving forward is working with the commissioners. There is an unsafe building fund that has the amount of money in it that could pay for this. However, we would have to work with the commissioners and get their approval to use those funds, transfer those over so that we can pay for this permitting thing. And that could be the stopgap for now until we can get the ARPA funds in place to.
Now, I will have to say this: if we go with iWorks, we have to sign a 3-year contract with them. So that's.
And if we're going to use ARPA funds or anything, we have to follow federal procurement guidelines.
Right.
So.
Right. So do we have enough money to pay for 3 years?
No, we would have enough to with the fund that is there right now that we were talking about pulling it from, would get it started for the first year.
But then the issue is that we would have to procure it, which we may not get iWorks through a procurement process.
Well, you can do location-based procurement, but the timing, you need this online June 1.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, actually, this will fit under ARPA funds too, because it's for it's improvement. So it'll fit.
And public access.
It'll fit under the qualifications.
I wonder if we can work with iWorks to do something like that. Yeah, to get something like a trial, or where we only pay for what we need right now, and then we can get the full, where they're inputting our past documents later.
Oh, they're gonna want money for that.
Right, but that's all part of this initial package is So I wonder if we can split up where we just, I don't know.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Or is that messy and do we just pull from the unsafe building fund if the commissioners will allow that to pay for
I
it?
would say go with that way.
I'd say the commissioners, they'll help you out somehow.
I mean, our back getting against the wall, we just have to go big and ask for another dollar,
Mhm.
you know.
Rachel, because I just looked at you. Jessica, on that program, if we are added into that, would we have the ability, or Rachel have, or whoever, because obviously she's only here temporarily, but would we be able to be a part of making sure that what we need on our end as far as the program is that it's there for us? Because there's certain things that, I mean, this program that we're looking at.
I mean, Brad was in the discussions, and then it got paused with Brad's situation, and I knew it, we weren't getting in the first round because I didn't have the capacity to do that with everything else. So I knew it would be the June round that we're shooting for. So yes, I would have you guys involved. I mean, Brad, Tom, and I sat down and spent hours going through some ideas that would span across the different departments. So yes, you would absolutely be. The point of it is to build it so that it's cross-functional,
right,
and it engages all of the different departments. Otherwise, we're no better than we are now, where each department's working
in silo.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the whole point. I know that Brad had talked with Beacon, which I know is not this, and I don't know the program that you're talking with. He had gotten pricing for Beacon. He seemed to think that was the one that aligned well, but I'm going to be honest. I know the names of them. I don't know. I haven't dug into it. So I think it's just a process we have to go through to decide what fits with the county from an IT perspective, from a GIS perspective, from a customer service perspective. You know, that's why
the two packages that I had them price me out was one was without the customers paying online. The second one was the ability to pay online, because we've never been able to accept a credit card because we've never had it. They said that we've never brought in enough money to do that. So that's.
But we've also never charged what we should be charging for permits either.
Right.
So.
Right. So I mean, I've tried. I just, unfortunately, lines of communication were not there with all of us. And had I not come across the notepad where it says that our current system is done, null, void,
We wouldn't have known this.
on June 1st, we would have came in on June 2nd and gone, what happened to our, what happened to our program? This is something we've dealt with for many years. Liz is here, she can vouch for it, where we've said that this program is going to be obsolete, and we've just been
ignoring
it and just kind of, well, we'll just wait and see. Let's just keep using it and wait and see. So, I mean.
So we don't have time to wait on this.
No. So what we could do is, Stacy will be attending, is it the council meeting tonight?
Yeah.
That's for a separate issue, but we can talk with the commissioners and propose this. I mean, I think you guys can make a recommendation or make a motion to have staff, work on this to get it funded with the commissioners, and then we can move forward.
We have to see if we can get, if the if John and them are in agreement with it, to try and push and get it on for a transfer tonight. Because we're looking at deadline of June 1st, that it's going to be done.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's move for that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So do we need to make a motion on that?
I think Liz wants to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Liz Bruns, I'm the senior planner upstairs, and I just wanted to, I heard what you were saying when I was sitting up there. Not to throw anybody under the bus, but we have gone through 3 building permit programs, paid for the first stage of 3. It's never come to fruition.
Right.
So we need to be sure that whatever we do now is going to work. We've got 30, but I mean, we need to make sure he didn't use the program. The program needs to work with her and work with me in order, we know what we need in the office. So I just want to be sure that when we did the iWorks thing, And we were just thrilled with it, with everything that it would do, and it would do what we wanted it to. So we just want to make sure if we go another route, that we have input for what we need, because we don't have a budget that would allow us to just continue to do this year after year.
So that was what I was going to ask you, was the It Works program. You familiarized yourself with it, Rachel,
Absolutely.
Stacy, and all three of you agree.
Yeah,
that
and the
you-
inspector, and that would allow for the inspector, I don't know if you said this or not, but the inspector to do his inspections out in the field. He could have an iPad. He just puts all the comments in there as he's doing the inspections.
Everything.
The scheduling, everything is done right in that program. And that we'd be able to see it right when he's doing it. So it'd be
And maybe,
something that,
Jessica, that's something that this new program that you're talking about would be able to
And
work
it may
with.
be. I mean, it may be. Like I said, I'm not familiar with programs. I think I'm just coming up from the same position from the other side. I mean, you guys are looking at changing driveway permits that my guys do all the legwork on. So
Absolutely,
So-
yeah.
the discussion needs to involve all the departments that will touch this, and it hasn't yet. So that's why I wanted to pop in, just to make sure that there was an awareness of that. I totally get though that you're up against a deadline, and I don't want county operations to shut down for sure. I mean, hopefully nobody thinks that that's what I'm applying.
No.
But
Yeah.
we just got to make sure that whatever we go to next is what will work. Nobody wants to be changing things every other year.
No.
It doesn't make sense.
What's the program that we're using now that's gonna be obsolete to us?
AS 400?
There's no chance of extending it for a couple months?
No.
No,
Sounds
they
like it's
were-
from the 80s.
How long
From the
ago
way
was
you
it
looked
that
at
they
me.
were? No, well, no. Well, and the only reason why I looked at you that way is because Liz and I have talked many times, how many years ago did they say that they were going to be done with this? Because they wouldn't
8
do-
years ago.
8
When
years
Brad
ago.
came in, they told Brad he needed to get a receipt program. So that was 8 years ago. And-
Goodness.
I figured that was the case.
And they said, once this program dies, this is from IT.
Right.
Once this program dies, we're done. They're not doing anything with it. So,
So I think we wasting time discussing about it. We gotta make a move. I mean,
And we're not approving this today, we're just setting it up for a public hearing. So that's.
no, that's not, no, we're approving this. We're directing them to get this
Okay.
approved. What we're setting up for
Okay.
public hearing is the fee
The
structure.
fee schedule.
Yeah, the fee
Fee
schedule.
schedule, okay.
So I'd like to put a motion on the floor to approve the group to go talk to the council to get this approved so we get the money for it.
Okay. And then we can work on making sure that we're advertising properly for the fee schedule. So within, if you guys can review what is in the fee schedule, and I'll have planning staff also do a review, have the building inspector, and Liz and Stacy will look at it to make sure, you know, I'm in line with what my interpretation of things were.
We're gonna have the one by June 4th for public inspection.
Okay.
All right,
So we'll be working on that.
Okay,
need a second.
so we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who seconded it?
John.
Ron? Okay.
All right, roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Mark Gary,
Yes.
Denise Spooner,
Yes.
Lindsey Brown,
Yes.
Tom Shepherd,
Yes.
John Zimmerman,
Yes.
and Corey Freelander.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
can't believe you didn't have any fee for stopping for a order.
I know.
0.
I know. So we'll be in better shape. You know, and that just happens. You know, there's stuff where, and even as we go, I think I have in there zoning verification letters too, because I don't know, we've done, and that takes time of zoning verification letters. Sometimes we have to do research to see, you know, and that's usually requested by someone buying or selling a house, and it takes time, and that takes away from our daily, you know, duties that we're supposed to be doing too. So anytime we can recoup some of our staff time, I think we should be doing that. The next thing on the agenda is the planning director position. There is a job description in your packet, that has, you know, the duties, the role and responsibility of what a future planning director could be asked to do. So we hope that you guys can take a look at that, and I will get it sent over to HR so she can add whatever legalese or HR stuff that she needs to add to it. But if there's any red flags in your review, let me know, and we can get that adjusted.
Are you gonna apply?
Unfortunately, I'm not. But I really would like to continue working with you guys, maybe in a different capacity though.
I'm gonna ask every meeting till you leave.
What?
So I'm gonna ask every meeting till you leave.
Yes. There are, I think, strategic people placed around the building that I've been told to hassle Rachel about staying, so.
Was there anything ever done about, I suggested last meeting about getting somebody in just to help doing phone
Phones.
calls and stuff?
So what we are doing is, I think some of our internal roles and responsibilities were not very clear as well. So Stacy and Liz and I have been working on kind of revising and looking at our current job descriptions and making sure that we are clear what we're supposed to be doing before we bring a third person into the mix with us to, tell them what to do. So they have been working on that, and we are getting that kind of cleaned up. And our next step then, if we still feel like it's necessary, we'll be hiring someone for the phones.
Okay.
I feel like, and I guess Liz left, but Stacy, I feel like we have settled down a bit. I think we've kind of gotten over the big hump of projects that were being put on the back burner, or, I feel like things have settled down a bit and we've gotten into our routine. I think we're clear about what my role is right now in the planning department as interim, and I just feel like it's settled down a bit. Not to say that we couldn't use extra help, but last month when we met, I think we were way more stressed out and had a lot more anxiety about what was in front of us. So. And
we did make a change where Liz is she's starting taking on the plats. It could all change in 3 months when we get a new director. That director may say, nope, I want it back. But for the time being, Liz is taking those on, which it's time consuming. I mean, she sat for 4 hours just on one plat, It is time consuming for replatting and new plats coming in and all that. So, I mean, I think once we figure out exactly what we are all doing, we're still going to use that. It's there for us to use for the time being. And I think we can still benefit from that until we, are set and get, we're going to have to take time with the new director coming in and, going over with them what our not rules, but our procedures are in our office and getting, reacclimated.
Get them up to speed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't go nowhere.
I did, didn't I? That was a big word, wasn't it?
Did we ever come up with a
salary?
Yeah,
the big main thing, right?
People are going to want to be paid.
Come on.
I mean,
a lot more than what they were.
Oh, I heard that it was extremely low. That's all I've heard. So, I mean.
Can you give us a salary range for this position that's actually comparable to make people attracted to the job, please?
I can tell you that Pendleton's planning director is at $81,000.
All right.
And that's public information, and
all of it's public. Yeah.
At least I think that's her top range. Maybe I don't know fully, but I think that's the top of what she could get paid, or that position could get paid in Pendleton, is the $81,000. I would encourage you guys to look for someone who is AICP certified. And that, I think that range for the type of work that is in front of Madison County, I think would be appropriate, that you would want that skill level. Like we talked about earlier, impact fees, I think, are something that this commission needs to look at with the county commissioners and county council to put those into place. So, having someone that has been through that before or can help guide you through the process will be important. I mean, Jeff Graham will be a big piece of that process as well. And looking at potentially, I don't want to say restructuring the department, but, just like this with the fee schedule, having someone that can come in and look at what procedures need to change, look at updating your land use and development code, and things like that. I think, investing in this person now will help you in the long run.
I agree.
Modernization.
What's the current?
56.
I knew it was
56 pennies. 54 pennies.
And I think other counties that are not experiencing a lot of growth, like if you have a more rural county that is not experiencing growth and development like our South County is, that range could still be appropriate. But I think with what you have in front of you, it's time to move that salary up.
I mean, we have to look at our population size too, right? I mean, So, yeah, we're not a small county. We gotta.
It's a very diverse county too. I mean, if
Exactly.
you think about South County versus North County, you've got two different worlds that
Yeah.
you're working with.
I mean, we gotta pay people for what they're worth.
If we get our fees raised, we could.
Help us attract it to create a road, excellent planning direction.
Mhm.
And a big part of it is
Yeah.
the people they had to even choose from, when she left and her successor left, was wonderful.
Mhm.
There was just a lot of qualified men and women.
Mhm.
It's just getting the.
But she said the salary, and that's a big change.
We gotta look at our budget too, cause we working on food stamps over here.
We need to get out of that mindset and start bringing in
Exactly.
money, the 850 like
Yeah.
Pendleton did last month.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have that ability to do that. So why
Yes.
aren't we capturing that?
I agree.
One last thing on my agenda for you guys is the on-call building inspector services. We talked about that last month where we have Tom that's going to be out of town. I did get an estimate from Banning Engineering for their building inspector, and he charges $125 an hour. So what we were thinking was we could contract with him a day or two while Tom is gone. I just want to make sure I have your blessing to do that if we can we'll figure out how to pay for him with our budget. But if you guys are okay with that. The other option is to let our contractors and builders know that we are not going to be doing a lot of inspections that week and a half that Tom is gone. So
Yeah, you hate to do that.
yes.
I would say that have him do the stuff that really needs to get done and just do the bare essentials while Tom's gone.
Yep. And we can do that. So I'll look at either a day or a day and a half, 2 days at the most on that for him.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You need a motion for that?
I don't think so.
Alright.
Good.
Good.
All right. You guys have anything else for me?
Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Rachel.
Well, then,
Does anybody else, I asked, I don't know.
Oh.
Do you have?
anybody else from the audience have any business? Okay. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.